panelists Liv, Gideon, John, yes, and Nikki here. How is everyone?
Good.
Very good, thank you. Doing well.
Okay. So please, can you all, like, one by one, just give a brief summary of your academic history, careers, etc. So, Liv, do you want to start?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Olivia. Where do I begin? Okay. Sixth form. I went to sixth form. I did sociology, psychology, and geography. In my home city and like my high school, and then I moved on to Loughborough University, and I studied communication and media studies. Me and Nikki are on the same course, but I'm sure she'll tell you that as well. And then from doing my undergraduate at Loughborough University, I then moved on to the University of Leeds, where I studied for my MA, and I did media industries. And then you want me to go to?
Yeah, sure. Where are you working?
Cool. So currently I'm working at Channel 4. Recently got a new job there in March, which is great, and I passed my probation, which is God's great. But before that, I worked at the university. After I finished my MA, I then worked at the university in marketing for sports. I was one of the marketing assistants. And then I went to move to UK Local TV, which is like a company that has like 8 local stations across the country, and I was a digital coordinator. And then I got the job at Channel 4 as an assistant digital producer in their new department, which is called 4 Studio, where we produce content for their social media channels and ideas and original content. So yeah, living my best. God's really blessed me, and that's me.
Nice. And Gideon, what about you?
So I'm Gideon, everyone. Hi. I am a software engineer at the moment. At university, I studied electronics and electrical engineering, which was for an ME degree. After finishing, I got a job as a research engineer, which I did for 2 years before moving to my current job, in which I've been at for about a year. For A-levels, I chose physics, chemistry for the maths and the mathematics. And that's really the summary of basically my education and my career so far.
Nice. Okay, and John, what about you?
Hi everyone. Well, for me, I'll start with A-levels. So I did maths, physics, electronics, and science and society in Nottingham at a sixth form college. And then I went on to Loughborough University as well, where I studied civil engineering, masters in civil engineering, and also with a placement year. So I ended up doing 5 years with 1 year placement and then summer placements as well. And the company in which I worked for my placement is whom I'm working for now as a graduate engineer with AECOM in Birmingham. So that's currently my role. I've been at it for 11 months now.
Nice.
Sorry, 10 months now. Yeah.
Okay. And finally, Nikki.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nikki. For A-levels, I did media, English, psychology, and sociology, and went on obviously to Loughborough, then did communications and media studies, after which I went to go and complete a PGCE in post-compulsory education at UCL. And that then led me to teach at Harrow College, which I started teaching BTEC media. And I'm currently now in my role at Uxbridge College, where I teach A-level media and GCSE media and English.
Nice. Thank you, everyone. So basically, Liv and Nikki are more on the media side, right? Mm-hmm. I think you went to study the same course, and then Gideon in engineering. So this first question is directed at Gideon and Liv. So when you guys were both in sixth form, which is, I'm not sure how long ago, when you're both in sixth form, what did you envision for yourself and your career? And was it easy to come to this decision?
Good if you don't mind, I'll go first because I know that mine's really short.
All right. I'll go first.
Oh, okay, go on
then. Sixth form. For me, actually, I'm actually one of the few unusual tales, because before sixth form, so let me quickly do a little brief small history here. I did my secondary school education in Nigeria before I came to the UK. Yeah. And I even did a little snippet of university before I even come to the UK. And when I came to the UK, I had to go back to the sixth form because of the different educational requirements. So this might be useful for someone coming from another country to the UK. And so, but before I went to sixth form, I knew that I was going to study electronics and electrical engineering. So I knew beforehand. So I was informed of my choices. And the only reason why I did know this was because I had a conversation with a family friend one day, and I was basically talking about my interests. Maybe I was leaning towards engineering at the start because it's branded about like it's a good course to study. And I was talking about mechanical, and it was like, I think you should do electronics and electrical engineering because of the fact that it allows you to study a much wider range of disciplines incorporated within it, and then it gives you more options for things to work in terms of industries after you finish. And so from a very early age, like 14, 15, I knew I was going to do that. Like I had my mind fixated upon it. So when I went to A levels, all my choices were informed. So I was picking modules and subjects that would help to get to that level. That, which is unlike most of my cohorts, which I had at A level who didn't know. So I was kind of fortunate to, from an early age, have that kind of like idea of what I wanted to do. So my choosing physics for the maths and mathematics and chemistry was not accidental. It was all towards to basically being able to get onto that course.
Because it's important, because to study engineering, you need like physics, maths, and further maths. At least they're ideal.
That's correct. But I actually found out something when I got to university. So when I got to university, I found I had course mates who never did physics for electronics and electrical engineering in their A levels, which I thought was shocking. But they did mathematics, which seems to be actually overwhelmingly the most important subject for engineering, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure about chemical engineering, but for mechanical, I believe for electrical, for maybe even civil, to an extent, mathematics is probably the most important subject in engineering. And then, so if you're going to do anything in engineering, you should work your way from mathematics and then downwards, pick in terms of hierarchy of how important the subjects are.
So make sure before you get to A levels, think ahead of beyond school, because whatever you choose for A levels is so important to being able to study the course you want to study.
Yeah.
Am I that point as well?
Yeah, that's correct.
And Liv?
So unlike Gideon and what you just said, which is very, very important and crucial, I had no clue what I wanted to do, if I'm being honest. Like I didn't know. Like I always found education a little bit hard. And I always remember being sat around my dining room table with my parents and my aunties and uncles. What do you want to be? I'm like, no clue. I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of just chose things that I liked, not knowing what career path was going to take me down. So it's not a bad thing, because obviously I've ended up in a great place. But I think that, yeah, maybe taking a leaf out of Gideon's book when I was younger would have been a great thing to do. But obviously everyone's on their own path and journey. But yeah, I had no clue. And so where I am now is only because of God. So yeah.
It is true. So many people, even my age, they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah. There's so many things, that's why. Like, there's actually so much choice. If someone was like, okay, do A or B, I'll be able to choose, because there's so many things you can be and you can do. I think that's where the decision comes in. So it's a good thing that there's lots of choice, but also it can be like, for people who are not, like, can make decisions quite easily. So yeah.
But and initially you didn't want to go to uni though, did you?
No, as soon as I finished sixth form, like obviously I love sociology and psychology, and my sociology teacher just gave me some life in that lesson. And I was just like, I don't want to go to uni. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, uni's not for me. I don't see myself getting a degree. Why would I want to get a degree? Like, I was like, I'm done with education. Sixth form I worked my socks off and I did well, and I was just like, I'm done with education. But I don't know, after working for a year, I was just like, maybe I should do it because I have the opportunity. And some people don't always get the opportunity. And I always feel like with my education, I was doing it for me, but I also wasn't doing it for me. Like, as a Black woman, I was doing it for Black girls that potentially don't feel like they can achieve. Yeah. And for family that couldn't necessarily, like my parents, they never had the opportunity to go to uni. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the first in my immediate family to go to university. So yeah, that's probably to change my mind, I think.
That's super good. And wait, this is for John and Nikki though. Like, so how did you guys find out about the different career types and university courses out there? Because there are so many courses that people don't even know exist, but they're all available. So how did you guys find out that you wanted to study the courses that you did study?
I'll go. I particularly found out about communications and media. Well, it was through like a career day in my sixth form, actually. So I would definitely say you should utilise career days, and I know that universities actually come a lot to colleges or sixth forms and speak to, you know, prospective students. So it was from there that I actually, because before that I didn't really do much research. I was just like, yeah, I know I'm going to go to uni, don't know what I want to study, but when the time comes, then I'll deal with it. But that particular day, one of my friends was saying that, oh, we should just go and just have a look at the different universities. So I went, and then I was just looking at the courses, and I said, oh, this is a lot more, this is deeper than we actually think, like, you know, the breakdown, all the different modules. And I was like, oh gosh, this is a bit scary in comparison to, because I know at school you just think, I'm just going to pick a course, you know, I've picked A levels, I'm just going to pick a degree, it's not going to be anything too scary. But then I started seeing that, okay, this is a three-year course, and there's different modules, and it started getting a bit scary. So then I looked at, I know I particularly went to go and speak to Brunel at that time, and they were talking to me about their media course, because at that time I really liked media. I knew I was really good at writing, but I knew that, you know, I was really creative, so I really wanted to do some media. So I spoke to them about their course, and they were breaking it down, and I was just like, okay, I really need to go and do some research. So from then I went to the UCAS website. I think I used a tool called Kudos, and which allows you to it allows you to do like a survey, and then it kind of gives you the best degree for you, depending on what sorts of things you like and your personality. So I did that, and then what came up was media. Pardon?
What's that called?
Kudos. So yeah, Kudos. So you kind of fill out the survey, and it will tell you what degree they think or what profession. And it's really good. I think that's a useful tool, because I think it also breaks down the kind of where your degree can take you. So in terms of career and, you know, the salary and everything like that. So yeah, I think that was a good tool for me to use. And then when I did that, it then brought up loads of creative subjects and media and things like that. So then I knew, okay, I'm probably going to have to go into media. And then I looked at the leaderboard, or the league table, and saw that Loughborough was up there. So I just applied to all the ones that were top for me anyway, for my course. And that's what I did.
Very good. So a lot of schools do that though, where like universities kind of gather at their school and they get exposed to all that. But even if your school doesn't do that, there are quite a few websites, or even the university sites show you all of the undergraduate courses.
Yeah. And I would definitely say go look at them and really look at the different modules and try and understand and speak to someone if possible a bit more about it, so that you can gain a bit more understanding regarding that course. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And before we move on to John, I just want to say to the audience, feel free to be leaving questions in the question box at the bottom, and then we can answer them at the end. Okay. And so, John, what about you? So how did you...
Yeah, for me, I think I wasn't as thorough as Nikki was. I think for me, what it was is I was just hearing word of mouth. So I was kind of lucky, similarly to Gideon, in the fact that I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I just didn't know what type of engineer I wanted to be. So I was moving between mechanical, electrical, and civil, essentially. That's why I did electronics in A levels. So really what I did was more word of mouth. So it was like in my church, for example, I would ask people like, what do civil engineers do? What do mechanical engineers do? And then I relied on my dad as well to give me some of the information. And so understanding what the lifestyle is for a civil engineer or electrical engineer, that's kind of what led me to pick civil engineering instead of electrical engineering. Also, just due to how good I was with electronics. So I was actually quite good at electronics. I thank God for that. But it wasn't engaging for me. I found it almost just mundane. So I found that I was really interested in physics and mechanical and the like structural elements. So for me, I was like, let me go and do civil engineering, because I felt like that's something I was passionate about. So, but in terms of other tools I did use YouTube. So I did search like, what's the lifestyle of a civil engineer? Just see there's a video up there. to see what civil engineers do every day or electrical engineers do every day. And of course, I check the salary to see how much I can expect to be earning. So that was really it for me. It was more just communicating with people around me who were already in places of work and using that information to guide my decision.
Yeah, that's pretty useful. Because people around you, all the adults around you, they have careers, you know, and it's likely that whatever they work as is what you want to be. So just to ask them like how they got there, the different courses and the differences, because a lot of people don't even know that there's a difference between civil engineering and mechanical engineering. So just like informing yourselves on the different courses and what they entail and like future prospective careers out of them. It's really good, thank you. Okay, so this is pretty much for anyone who feels that they want to answer this. But when you are in school, like my age, sixth form, year 11, or even in university, what do you feel that people should be focusing on? Like, because I'm kind of just cruising through sixth form. I'm working as well, but a lot of people don't know what they should be diverting their energy and attention towards and kind of just living in the moment. So what's your advice to anyone?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
On a live.
Okay. It's a very tricky question, but I think if you're, is the question, does it cover if you're at university or just sixth form level, A levels, year 11, just everyone generally?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. So if you're studying and you're going through the education process, this is what I think is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think you should be learning by accretion, which is you should be building on knowledge. So when you're learning, don't just learn to pass, because I think that's probably one of the failures of our education system, which has made people into like grades, going for grades and getting grades. And I keep saying this, like, so I achieved a first class degree by the grace of God, but I never say it with pride. Like, it's almost like garbage to me. Like, it's not like I look down on it. I don't have any pride when I say it. I don't even try to say it. And I say that because I've lost the position to someone that got a 2-2 in the past before. And why do you like lose the position? Because the person was more knowledgeable, more skilled. Why were they more skilled? Because they understood what we were taught better. Like, it's a very simple thing. So if you go to school and you're learning stuff and you can't communicate the things you're learning to someone else, or you can't apply it in any reasonable, useful way to someone else, and you're getting all these amazing grades, I have to tell you now, you're failing in your education. You might be getting good grades, but when you come out, you're failing. So if you want to actually do school properly, personally, I believe you should learn the little things as well as you can, not the big stuff. Learn the little things, and then wherever chance you get, build on the little knowledge you have. So master the small things, learn the small things well, such that you can hold a conversation about it. And if you can't, if you have questions, you ask your teachers, because when you go to uni, that's when you learn where education is different, where you can have conversations about things you've been taught with your lecturer, where your lecturer might have the answer, but the conversation would lead to him giving you an answer, or you can derive a very good answer from it. So I'll stop there for now. So that's what I would say on it.
Yeah, and it's important because we do go through school and we learn for GCSEs, you know, we learn for A levels, but then can we hold a conversation outside of school where it actually matters? And like, even I've gotten to the age, if you're in sixth form, we're going to be having interviews with the university interviewers, and they want someone who can converse about the subject really broadly. So yeah, it's really important what you just said, you know, learn for real life as opposed to just the exam. Sorry, Liv, I think you're going to say something.
Well, Gideon obviously said a fantastic point, and I agree. Like, developing yourself as an individual is one of the big things. Obviously, you want to pass, which is great. A qualification may get you through to the interview, but it's about how you sell yourself, obviously, and sell yourself just in general in life. Like, and I feel like for me, I really matured at university and really found myself, and I think that's another thing that you should focus on too. Like, obviously, pass, go to your lectures, do well, excel, achieve, and get the best result that you can, really strive for that. But at the same time, you want to learn about you. And I think that's an important thing. But that was an important thing for me, is learning about me, what I'm like, and learning how to be likable, because as you said, when you go into an interview, they remember, like, I want them to remember me, even if I don't have the correct grade that they want. Like, as long as I go in there and they remember who I am and my name's in their mouth or in their rooms and I walk out, then that's the main thing. Like, so yeah, I agree with Gideon 100%. Like, just develop yourself. That's the main focus. Like, in all aspects, like with your education, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you're that way inclined. Yeah, so that's all I can say.
So learning not just for the classroom,
yeah,
and also remembering that it's an experience, you know, develop yourself, develop your interpersonal skills, or just grow, I guess. Yeah. Thank you. And so the next question is to Nikki and John. So in your careers, how important, so when you are in sixth form, when you are in university, you're going to be around so many other people who are studying, who are working and are aspiring for different things. So how important is it to utilize this network? And how important is networking in your careers? Oh wait, Gideon, I think you had like a really good example of this. How networking really helped you.
I mean, I'll let Nikki go first. I'll give my example. Mine is an example, not the answer, but I'll let Nikki answer the question.
Go.
So what did you say, Nikki?
Going? I said, give your example.
I'll give my example. Okay,
yeah.
I'll give my example. All right. So my example is this. So when I went into university, from my introduction, I said I already knew I had a plan. So I knew what course I was going to study from before A levels. I knew what I wanted to do. So me choosing to do MNG was because I didn't really want to stay too long. I didn't want to come back to uni. I wanted to do everything in one go, get a master's and get out. And I also wanted to be employable. So I wanted to have like employment skills working wise. So I wanted to do placement every summer. So summer placement every summer. I was going to do a placement of my academic year. But my first year, I think I left it a little bit late to start applying because I was quite naive at the time. But I started applying afterwards, but I couldn't secure a summer placement. And it was getting to like end of July, which most people resume summer placement like June, early June and kind of stuff. So it was already drawing to the end. Now it happens that I met a friend, a classmate at the start, and in my lecture rooms, and he used to sit at the back with me. That was how we knew each other. That was how we met. And he got a placement with a company which actually John works with now, ACOM in Birmingham. And he started speaking to his boss in Birmingham about me, about giving me a chance to work with them. Now, I don't want to go to Birmingham. I'm based in London. So we started talking to them. It turns out they have an office in London, and he spoke so well about me. I was told, he told me to send his manager an email. I sent him an email. Next thing I knew, he tells me to go and meet another manager in the London office. I go to the meeting. I was expecting a very strict interview. I didn't get I don't think it was an interview. I had a conversation about what they do, how they do it, and I was told to come start my placement on the Monday. So that for me is one of the most powerful testimonies about networking, because I didn't have to apply for this role. I mean, I think I still have the emails in my email chain, in my email somewhere, you know, and that was it. Like, that was my foot into the professional working world, I would say. And that experience and every other one has helped me to get to where I am today. So yeah, that's my experience of networking.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really good. Sorry, John, do you have any?
Yeah, so I'll back what Gideon said, because I know from experience as well that networking is definitely very important. I know many people have got into the positions they've got into through networking. It's the reason why it works is because, one, first of all, you show an example that you're able to communicate. You're able to go beyond the norm, which is just do a quick online application and that's it, and you just hope for the best. You know, it's good for you to go out there, maybe let people know who you are, find out the information people have, because it's not even necessarily only for jobs. It's just to grow as well, to understand what is out there for yourself. Because, you know, you could finish with a degree in civil engineering, but then you may be passionate about, let's say, climate change, and you don't actually know that much about what civil engineers do towards helping that. But if you go to like careers fairs and things like that, you can find out some small companies who are doing like revolutionary work in that area. So you get the experience more. I mean, for myself, my experience is very similar to Gideon's, is the fact that I didn't have to apply, because I was listening, I was looking for opportunity, and I've got an email for someone, messaged the person, got an interview, and that was it. It was done that way, and I thank God for all of that. But you have to go beyond, you know, just applying. It's enough for some, but obviously you want to do what's best for yourself and give yourself as much opportunity as possible. So definitely network as much as possible.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people are at the positions where they're applying for work experience or they're applying for jobs or whatever, but there are a limited number of places you can apply to. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to use the people around you, the people that you know, and just have conversations, because you never know. Like your friend's dad's uncle might be your future boss. So yeah. Okay, so my next question is to Nikki and Liv. So apart from networking or not networking, what aspects of your career or your academic life do you regret the most? Because as a younger person, it's really, really useful to hear about other people's mistakes, obviously, so you don't walk down the same path. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to younger people like myself on things to avoid, basically? Liv, you look like you're thinking hard.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of this. Well, it's kind of a regret, but it's not a regret. Like from the point that we made before about not knowing exactly what you want to do, like when you were younger. Like I wish I had that. I wish I had a solid idea, so then I could follow the correct path. But I didn't, and I've obviously still achieved. But I kind of, if I had a solid idea about that, then maybe I could have ended up somewhere different. I mean, I don't want to say, with a better job and a better salary, because I've been blessed, but I never know. I could have been I don't know, with a better career and a better salary. But I'd probably say, actually, I didn't do placement, so maybe that might be a regret. I just did my undergrad and that's it. And Nikki will know that I think one of our friends was really keen, and I was just nah, placement wasn't thing. So maybe having that experience, that year experience in the industry before would have been actually really great. So yeah, maybe try your best to try and take the opportunity of getting placement. That's something I didn't actually do. So yeah, that's probably a regret for me, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good.
I would say throughout my career, for instance, I would say my biggest regret would probably be not showing enough of my personality, maybe, or me. When I first went into teaching, I was just I just need to get the job done. I just need to teach. They just need to pass. And that's that. But throughout the years, especially when I first went for my first role in Harrow College and I was teaching, I was I was just about the job, and I was just working, wasn't really showing enough of my personality. And what I learned was that in order for you to progress and for you to actually achieve better, you actually have to show your managers or the heads of school or whatever that you have good personality, that you can also get to where you want to go through your personality as well. It's not just about knowing the job. Yeah, that's very important, but what are you going to bring to the table as a person, as an individual? And I think I really didn't put enough into that. I was just thinking, well, if I'm good at my job, then I will get, I'll progress and get to where I want to go. But I do think it's very important to show yourself and show who you are, because you're amazing. And I'm pretty sure that if you can, you got the job in the first place, but also don't shy away from showing the kind of person you are. And I think if I'd done that earlier, then I would have progressed a bit quicker. Yeah, I think that's probably one of my regrets.
Because interviewers are people too. Mm-hmm. They don't just see, oh, this person's good. They'll see your character, how you work well with other people. And so even me, just to get into sixth form, I had to do an interview. And so no matter what stage you're at, showing yourself really just adds to your application, showing that you're, personable, hardworking, stuff like that. So I like that point, show yourself, because what can you lose? John and Gideon, do you have anything to add to that? I'll go on, John.
It kind of builds on what was said before, which is when you're applying for jobs, or let's say you're doing your schoolwork, just always remember that you're developing yourself. Don't always think of it as like just a task, like what Nikki was saying with her experience. Like, it's not a task, you're developing yourself. Like, take pride in the fact that, okay, I now know this, I can now do this, I can move forward to apply this to this. Do you get me? So like, make sure as you're moving forward, you're always looking at your progression as well, so you don't feel like you're just going through life without any achievements. And also it gives you a way to target where you want to get to. So let's say you got your GCSE grades, you got A, B, C, whatever. Now you're going into A level, think, okay, how can I do better? How can I improve myself? It's not always about grades, but it's also like other things as well that you could add on to that. So is there things you're doing for your society? Are there things you could do with people around you, just so you can develop as a full person, so you don't just become this workaholic or this person that just goes after money? Do you get what I mean? So make sure you're just developed all around, and you know, your career is a route to something. It's not your entire life. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a really valid point. And especially with all like the automation that's happening, you know, people are saying, oh, robots taking over jobs. Nowadays, personability is so important. The fact that you have character, the fact that you have like emotions you can like interact with people by, that is really important in your careers.
Oh, and just to add another point that just came to mind, is another regret I would say is not sharing like my career goals with either my manager or a boss or someone ahead of you, and building relationships with those people, because if they're above you, the guidance and advice that they can offer you is second to none. And I think a lot of the time we shy away from building relationships with people that are, you know, that are managers or our bosses, and letting them know that actually this is where I want to get to, and you don't know what the doors they can open for you just by knowing that, and the advice that they can give you to actually get to that point. So I think building relationships with people above you, and also letting them know where you want to get to as well, is quite key. And it's something that I wish I did.
And that's super important. And so we're talking about, you know, showing more of yourself. What other skills do you feel are necessary in the field of work? Like Liv, for example, working as a social director. What do you work at?
Assistant digital producer.
Yeah, for Channel 4. What skills do you feel are necessary?
Writing in English. Like I said before, people think it's funny to write a social post. Like, but there's a lot of skill like writing a social post, and understanding your audience and understanding how people are going to actually like respond to that. Like, that's a massive part of social media, a massive part of digital media. Strategy planning, communication, community management. Communication is a huge one. And a creative mindset, like that is a big thing in media. And obviously you can like develop that from doing stuff outside. Like, I don't just work full time. Like, I have a podcast and a platform, and that also helped. Like, they worked in partnership, because what I learned from my full-time job I can put into my side hustle, and in my side hustle I can implement that into my actual full-time job too. So yeah, I'd probably say like, and time management and initiative. Like, initiative is a big one. I always want to leave, like I say, I want to leave my mark in an interview when I've gone for an interview, but I also want to leave my mark in my job. Like, I want to leave a job and let them know I've done this, I've created this, or this is, you know, my project I've given to this company, so they remember me. Like, that is a massive thing for me. Like, coming up with ideas that are outside the box, that are not normal to what the company does, you know, what they're used to, and like, just, you know, thinking of stuff that, yeah, they wouldn't normally do, like adding something to the business. So yeah, using your head and thinking creatively, and that's probably like a huge one. And teamwork too. Like, obviously you have to work with people, and you have to learn to work with people. And I'd definitely say like you have to like expose yourself to a variety of different types of people, not the same, you know, Black, Christian, like, as much as I love my people, like, expose yourself to everybody, because when you go to the working place, like, you're not going to meet people that always are the same as you, as much as we're rooting for people to get into same positions as us, that look like us. Like, yeah, expose yourself to people, and understand that teamwork is a massive thing in a company. But yeah,
that's really good. Wait, how would you say that you developed your ability to work with other people? Because
I am a one-on-one type person, like very much a one-on-one type person, with friends, with family, and and I'm not scared to ask people to go for a drink. Well, not a drink, like like a tea. We're not out here drinking. Like a hot drink, or having like that a meeting with them, being like, okay, how, like I sat alongside a lot of editors, and they were better at video editing than me. So I was just had the confidence to just be like, Rob, like, please help me. Like, how do you do this? Can we meet so you can teach me how to do this? Like, I tried to be, I'm always trying to be teachable too. So if someone has something that I can learn from, I'm bold enough to ask and just be like, and ask questions and ask my managers, like, this is what I want to do. And then also just doing different stuff, like outside of the workplace, like not just going to work, seeing the same people for 8 hours and then leaving, like being sociable outside of them hours. Yes, they may not be into everything that you do, maybe into what they do, but like just spending that time, even if it's like 10, 20 minutes, and saying, okay, I'm going now, even though it's 7 o'clock, but like I'm leaving, I'm not staying on late, or, going to doing stuff like hobbies or activities that are not associated with your job, so then you can meet different types of people, like in different aspects of the world and, environments is what I think is a way to develop that thing of being exposed to different types of people. Yeah.
That's really useful. Thank you, Liv. So Gideon, what about you? What skills do you feel are necessary in the field of work?
I have to agree with everything Olivia said, which is communication. I think is the most important skill in virtually most professions, if not all professions. Because if you have, let's say, for people like myself and John who are technically minded, if you have this skills, which is, I don't know, dealing with numbers and computers and stuff like that, but you have to communicate with other people in the office who tell you what they need you to do, or for the company's sake, what they want to do, and you can't communicate ideas back and forth, that's going to be a stumbling block. Because you got to use emails, you got to use different messaging apps, you got to write proposals, you got to write tickets, you got to write different things that revolve around communicating ideas. And if you can't communicate an idea, then you're already failing, because that's a big part of companies' communication. Like if you look at things that happen when things go wrong, big projects go wrong, they always come back to somebody said something and somebody misinterpreted something. It's an example. Like that's what communication is. So, and it comes from just talking, just like we're talking today, or you're writing something on a piece of paper. Like I teach people, like I do tutoring. So when I tutor people, I tell them, the kids, the young guys, and I tell them, like, if I'm writing down on your book, I'm not writing down for myself. I write down thinking you're going to read it. Like if I was writing for myself, I would write it in a different way, because there's a different way I write personal notes. But if I'm taking a note from you and I'm writing down something for you, I'm writing down so I think you're going to read this and understand what I want you to understand from it, so it can be useful to you. That's an example. And teamwork, that's just, I learned that the hard way at university, but it was good because when I got to a workplace, I got used to the different ways people work in a team. Like there are people that work in a team that don't give you feedback on things. There's people that work in a team that assume things. So you got to learn to work in a way where you don't assume things. Like I had to learn not to assume. That took me a long time to get used to, not assuming things and information, like assuming we all have common sense. Like I assume you can read my mind, so that you then assume that subliminally you know what I want you to do. No. You have to be explicit all the way through. Like if it's carry the box from this place to that place, the letter has to say carry the box from this place to that place. Like it's an example of communication within teamwork, and then learning to be like helpful with people, because people have different behaviors. They don't really like, they're not what's the word? They don't have an agenda against you. It's just their personal attitude. And it takes a while to learn to work with people. So always give people time when you're working on a team. Because my personal experience at university, I had one of the worst ones in my final team project, where my team members didn't show up for any of my project work. And I was the only one left. And it was like, I think 2 weeks to the deadline. I kept writing emails. And the lecturer was like, just CC me in the emails kind of thing, so that they can then be, responsible. So I've learned to do that even in my workplace. Like if it's an important stuff, I'll copy in a senior manager into the email chain, so that they can see that someone else can see what I've written to them. That's an example of something I learned at university. So yeah, communication and teamwork, very important skills.
Thank you, Gideon. And these skills you can be starting and building up from a very young age. Even if you're in school, like there are so many societies and so many clubs that you can participate in to build these skills, because it seems kind of trivial at school, but like Gideon and Liv just said, they're so important when working in your various careers. So things like even just sports teams, maybe debating society, learning to develop your teamwork and learning to develop your communication skills is super important. Like, I know a lot of people don't like speaking in front of crowds or don't like small talk with other people, but things like small talk I feel are really, really common in the world of work. Liv, why are you nodding? What do you
Small talk is, oh my gosh. Like, I feel like you have to do that all the time, 24/7. When you start a new job, when a new colleague starts, when you're new, like, it's all the time. Even when you're like going to the shop, like, and you have to speak to a cashier, like, you have to do it all the time. And it starts, and like, it is a bit boring to do, and it's a bit like, oh my gosh, this is not even like deep conversation. But it actually like helps. And if you can build on small talk, then you can form and build relationships with people, and you can find things out. And then later on in life, you don't know if you're going to need that person who you had a little chit chat with. Do you get what I mean? Like, you just don't know what can happen. So small talk, I agree with 100%. Like, do it, even though it pains me in my chest. I still have to do it. I still have to do it every day. When they ask you, do you want tea and coffee? No, I don't tea and coffee. But they'll still, do you get what I mean? They'll still ask you every day because they still want to have conversations with you, because they want to know what you're about. And, you know, you have to just open up and, you know, make friends, kind of. Yeah.
Exactly. And it is really important. I've heard that quite a lot. Just being able to have those small chats with people, because you never know who you might talk to. Like you just said, person might be really important. So my next question is to Nikki. Do you think, to Nikki, and John, sorry, John, do you think you can love what you do and also make money doing it? Oh, Liv, I think you said, also, guys, feel free to leave questions in the description box, in the chat section. I think a few of you have left questions there, so we'll get to them at the end. Thank you. So, Nikki.
Yes, I do. I think in everything that you want to pursue in life, this is what I think. I think if you put enough effort into it and you have a lot of zeal and motivation to do that thing, I think it can lead you to make money from it. Obviously, everyone has different goals and different motivations behind why they do something, but I think if you like I said, if you put a lot of effort and you have a lot of will to go as far as you can, I think it can lead you to progress very far in that career and therefore leading to yielding money. So I think it is very, very possible. Yeah.
Thank you. And John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes though in life, you find that what you love, to achieve that, you may have to do something you don't like. So for example, like if you work somewhere because let's say you have a goal of starting some sort of charity, let's say you love helping people and you want to start a charity, you want to start some sort of organization, but you realize that where you are today, you need something else first. So you have to be realistic as well, because it's not, for many people don't get that opportunity of doing exactly what they love, like the exact thing that they want to do really to start off with. But what it is that you're working towards that. Do you get what I mean? So that you can love it and you can earn money with it, because it's hard to find that thing that you love and then earn money with it, like at the beginning of your career. The majority of people don't really achieve that. But at least don't go for something you hate, because you'll hate your life. Don't do that. Honestly, money is not that important. So long as you have enough to sustain yourself and you can move forward with what you're earning, go for something that you still have some interest in. But also have that goal to, if you don't get the opportunity of working, doing something that you love to start with, always have that goal to reach that. Do you get what I mean? Find a way to practically get there. Do you get what I mean? Because it just isn't easy like that, honestly. Like for me, I'm not a numbers guy that much. Although people say, oh, you do engineering, and they think, oh, you're a techie guy. Actually, I'm not. I like to manage projects, not actually do the technical side of it. So my aim is to go more into the management side of things. But I know that I need to understand the technical side of things before I go there, because of the kind of person I want to be when I'm instructing people. I want to understand what stress you're going to have to go through before I tell you, go and do something. Do you get what I mean? So you just got to understand that things aren't just going to be like that straight away, and just work towards it essentially. But yes, definitely aim towards loving what you do and earn money from it.
And also, you might not start off, that career thinking that there's going to be a lot of money in there, in that specific career. But the more you grow and the more you learn, you can see where it can take you, and then therefore it will lead to making a lot of money. For instance, for me, it's not, I don't think I started teaching because I was like, oh yeah, this is going to make me rich. It's not, let's be honest, that's not what brought me into teaching. It's my passion first. But through my experience and through years and years that, where I will get to eventually, it can lead to making really good money, but it's all a process, isn't it? So you have to be patient as well.
I wouldn't, I agree with what John and Nikki said completely. And I just want to say, I'm not knocking a 9-to-5 because I work a 9-to-5. But sometimes when I think about what people love to do, I always associate it with like their skills and their hobbies. Like I have an array of friends that do a lot of things, and like they all know, I support you 100%. But like one friend of mine, as well as her working her full-time job, she designs cushions. And I just think it's amazing. I know she's now been able to like create an Etsy shop, and she sells them on there. But just from the pure fact that she's great with the sewing machine and she can make cushions, she also has another added like way of stream of income, which is great. Like if you have a top salary and you're making 100 grand, blessed is your life. But I know that for me, like having multiple streams of income is a goal too. But I love like doing my podcast, and I make no money from it, but I absolutely love it, and by God's grace I will be able to make money from it. But I think I think it starts with just finding something that you love, and that's the main thing in life. Like I mean, I know a lot of parents encourage their kids to go for like top jobs, or being an engineer, being a doctor, being a lawyer, and stuff. But I think for me anyway, I'm not trying to go into like kids and stuff, but if I have my own children, like I want them to do something that they love. And then we can find a way to make money from it, because you can monetize loads of stuff. Do you get what I mean? Like if you have a YouTube channel, people they're doing welcome to my channel. Do you get what I mean? Like, and then I also watched a video of a guy on Channel 4. He makes grills which you put in your teeth, and he obviously puts jewelry on them, and he makes like £10,000 a week from making grills and like selling them to people. And it's just purely because he loves making grills. Like that's something that he's passionate about and that he loves. And obviously he's found a market out there. He's found a niche audience that love grills, and he's promoted himself and been able to delve into that and make money from it. So I don't know, if you have a skill, if you can play music, if you're a singer, if you design cushions, if you can cook, if you're very good on social, if you, I don't know, whatever it is that you can do, if you have a platform, like just like go for it. And you can find a way, like watch YouTube and you can find a way to monetize a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's my point.
No, I really like that, because nowadays side hustle is such a thing. And especially with different like platforms like Etsy, like you said, like YouTube, podcasts, everyone is doing what they love and finding a way to monetize that.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, like back in the days, people said, oh, I'm creative, I want to be an artist. But that wasn't really a viable job, You'd rather go into banking or something. But now there are so many ways that you can kind of work on your skills, develop them, and make money from them.
Exactly.
Really bad. And someone just asked in the question box, can you learn to love something? So it's kind of different to what we've just talked about, but can you learn to love something?
I'm going to say yes for this, because there are things that I've got myself into at first, which I did not like. For example, I'll give you an example actually. Writing. Hated it with a passion. Honestly, with a passion. And part of the reason why I went towards engineering early on, because I was told the lie that you, as an engineer, you don't really need to be good at writing, which is an absolute lie. You will write reports. You'll write them every day of your life. But I kind of, just putting more interest to try and think, okay, how am I putting this together? Will the person understand it? Making sure that people can really appreciate what I've done through the description of, let's say I'm doing a design per se, and I'm writing an option for it, and I want it to be very clear. I want it to look nice. I want it to present the company well. Eventually, you kind of get a pride in what you're doing. So it's not that I love it necessarily, but I'm now more interested in finding out how to write well and how to set things out well. Even though initially at a young age, I hated it. Do you get what I mean? So you can grow to learn to love something or grow to like something if you put the effort or try to find the enjoyable aspects in those things.
Can I just second that 100%? Because I cannot stand subtitling videos. Like, subtitling videos is the bane of my life. Like, I cannot stand it, but it has to be done because obviously with videos and social media, especially for Channel 4, like, not a lot of people have headphones to listen to the video, so they have to read obviously what people are saying. But I agree with John. Like for me, it's always like, if you don't like something, well, find a solution to make it better. If you don't love something, find a solution so you can love it. Do you get what I mean? Like, I've been looking for social subtitling tools that can make it quicker and easier for me to subtitle, so then I can enjoy the process of creating the video that's going to go on Channel 4's Facebook or Twitter. Like, you know, you're not going to enjoy everything, but just see if you can find a way to make a better solution so you can end up loving it or making it easier for yourself. That's my piece of advice.
That's true. Thank you.
Just wanted to add to that my personal experience of like not loving something, because I was saying at the start, I said I studied electronics and electrical engineering. People would think I now work as an electrical engineer, but I don't. I work as a software engineer, which is not what I studied. And the funniest part of this was when I started university and they taught us software, all my colleagues and peers, I told them I hate software. I would never do software again. If you ask all the people who did my course together with, they heard me say this all the time. Like, I'd never. So I dropped all my software modules from at the end of my first year because it's compulsory. Second year onwards, I dropped it. I was like, never again, never again. And then the more I went through uni and I realized, even though I said I was going to do software, my profession is actually governed by software as a tool to work. So if I don't learn this stuff, I can't actually work effectively as a software engineer. So I left uni not knowing software very well. I remember when I got to my first job, they gave me a task. They're like, oh, just walk through the software and do it. I couldn't do it. It wasn't just me and the colleague who I had who said, I couldn't do it. I was like, this makes no sense. Why would people do this stuff? But funny enough, I realized after given time, I actually could do it. I could learn it and I could enjoy it. I actually enjoyed doing it. It was challenging, but out of the challenge, I liked being able to solve the challenge that came with it. And now it got to a point I really loved it. I was like, I knew now I'm going to work as a software engineer. Like, this is my life thing. I'm going to do this as a profession fully. But that came out of something I did not like. And it turns out it was because I didn't give it a chance. It was because I didn't know enough about it. I was scared of it. So out of the fear of that, listen, I don't know it, so I'm not going to give it a chance, I sort of hated it. But now that I know it, I actually am able to do it. So I think for most people, one of the things I told myself after I started working, I was like, I'm never going to be afraid of any challenge that comes. I'll just take it on and I'll do it. And I will always solve it. That's one of the things I told myself. I did that to myself. I was like, whatever comes, because I work with a lot of people that are not Black when I start in my field. And I notice how they work and the confidence with which they work. And I'm always very like, oh my God, I don't want to break this stuff. I don't want to break that stuff. I'm just like, but after a point, I was like, I'm not going to be afraid. They give me a task, I'll do it. And I'll figure it out. They can do it, I can do it. I went to uni, they went to uni. We all got the grades. Somehow we ended up working here. That means we can do this job. So there is no more fear. So whatever comes, it's going to be hard. It's going to look like it's impossible, but we're going to solve it. And so far, every single thing turns out, it starts out really, really hard. And then a couple of weeks down the line, it becomes so easy. And I'm like, oh my God, look at that. It's so easy. But it's always hard at first because I didn't know about it. And then knowing about it, given chance, it turns out, oh, I can actually do this. It's not as hard. I can love it or I can like it. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, thank you. That was really good. We have another question from the audience. So this is from Tomisi. What are some things that have helped you stand out in your education and in your careers? So Nikki, do you think you could answer that?
Yeah. One thing that I would say is definitely in my career right now, that helps me stand out is definitely self-management, in the sense that my managers or those above me don't really they never have to kind of check, okay, is she doing this or is what's happening? You know, I set myself deadlines and I reach them, and in essence, I'm kind of managing myself. So I don't really need a manager, and she's there, you know, to help me. But in that sense, it really helps me stand out, because everyone, around me, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but everyone else around me kind of always needs reminders, or always needs, you know, to be checked in on. Oh, is everything going okay? Have you done this task? Have you done this admin task? Okay, what about this? What about that? But when it comes to me, it's already been done a lot of the time. And that's also because I self-manage a lot. I make sure that I do things before my manager will ask me if it's done, because I know it's coming already. So I think it's very important. And that has to do with a lot of planning and organization and being very organized. And that is something that I think I've carried from college to uni and now into my workplace. I've always been a very organized and very disciplined person in regards to getting things done and getting them on time, because I don't like people asking me when I know I have to do something. So it's, I would rather just get it done instead of, okay, have you done that? Okay, can keep checking. I'd rather just have it done. So then when you ask me, I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that weeks ago. Yes, it's cool. And then they're just like, oh wow, you're fabulous. I'm like, thanks. So I think that's one thing that makes me stand out. And yeah, all my colleagues are just like, oh, how'd you do it? And I'm just like, just something I've worked on since sixth form, and I think it's just stuck with me. So I'd say that helps me stand out quite a lot.
Self-management. Okay. Thank you. And John, what do you think helps you stand out in your education and career?
Definitely agree with what Nikki said. That is massive in the workplace. Honestly, they love people. Anyone, if you have someone working under you and they've got what needs to be done, so therefore you can now give them the next thing. It's great because you can just rely on that person. So definitely that is key. And also be a go-getter. Honestly, go for the challenges. Like if people are saying, "Oh, I don't really want to do this," and you look at it and you see, okay, this is actually something that's important to your employer or important to the work you're doing. Go for it, even if it's difficult. Let them know that, okay, this may be a bit difficult for me, but I want to do it. That way they know that you're someone who can accept as many challenges as they give them, essentially. So that's massive as well. And take up every opportunity that comes your way. In my placement, for example, there was just, you can run through placement and leave the company and it means absolutely nothing. I'll be very honest with you. But there was the fact that in the work I was doing, you're new to that workplace. So there's something you can give to the people who you've worked with. You always need to understand there's something you can change or there's something you can make a comment about to improve the way things are done. And so therefore, when they gave me the opportunity to talk, I decided, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list down all the things which I saw that were good, but then mention all the things that could be improved and say, okay, this is what I saw. And if we did this, we could possibly reduce the time we spend on this, reduce our cost on this. And within that presentation, I was able to demonstrate the fact that I've been watching, I've been listening, I've been looking to see what's going on around to try and make an impact. And one thing that's key as well is to stand out. Don't be just for the job. Honestly, don't just enter, do the job and get out. Don't be that person, honestly. Before you get to a job, before you get to uni, do as many other things as possible as well. Those things develop things in you that you don't realize. It shines for people, notice it, you don't notice it. Do you get me? Like, for example, being able to speak with confidence to people. That's something I would say I've developed through the roles in which I put myself in university. Every single one of us here on this call, because we all know each other from Loughborough University, we all had different positions outside of just going to uni. You have presidents of societies, you have leaders of media, of a media thing with church and making it all a new thing that we weren't doing before. And, people started that kind of thing. Just get yourself involved. And eventually you see that those skills will be seen and they will be appreciated. So that's how you stand out, having more than just the basics ticked off.
I agree. Sorry, I feel like I'm in school. I agree with everything that John and Nikki said, like everything to a T. Like, yeah, their points, they smashed it. I also think as well, I think for me is like going above and beyond. Maybe this is a personal one, but I don't like to be underestimated. Like if someone says to me, okay, Olivia, give me 5 ideas, I'm giving you 10. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna, I see myself as my own competition. Like I know when you get into the workplace, like you naturally want to compare yourself to other colleagues, your friends, anybody in this life, especially with social media now, you compare yourself to this Tom, Dick and Harry. But I literally just see myself as like my own competition. So then it helps me better myself. So like I want to smash your expectation of me, especially when I start a new job. If you think, okay, Olivia, she's only just gonna give me these 5 mediocre ideas, no, I'll give you 20, I'll give you 30. Do you get what I mean? Like I'm not just doing it just to impress you, that I want to, but I'm also doing it for me to be like, okay, how can I get better at like coming up with something creative, or you know, how can I better myself, and let me compete with myself. So that's another thing I think.
Outperform, like be better than other people expect. That's really good. We have another question from the audience. This is from Oyinka. What is the biggest piece of advice you've received or have learnt that has changed the way you view the working world and life in general? Okay. Gideon, do you think you might have an answer to that? The biggest piece of advice you've received that has changed the way you view the working world or life in general?
I would have said I needed more time, but now that you put me on the spot,
Sorry.
I'll try to say something. I mean, it's very hard to say the biggest piece of advice. I can't really think of one off the top of my head. Yeah, but I would say something that sort of changed how I work in a way. So when I was in uni, when I was doing applications for like placements and stuff like that, and I did an application for a scheme. I did it the year before, and it failed, and I did it by myself. You know, because I'm always like, let's do it by myself kind of thing. And then the next year, I actually went to the support group that had for it. And then one of the guys that done it before, he was a year ahead of me. And I told him, I was advised, like, let him take a look at it as part of the thing. So they set me up with him. And then he looked at my application and he went through it. And he was like, okay, I've seen what you did. It's good, but I think you should change some of this stuff. What you said here is not really properly worded. Say this instead of saying that. And I was actually very successful in the application. I actually got that actually was successful. And I think that made it different because it was a very critical answer to a question that was being asked. And when I saw what he did, because he changed it for me, he read it, and I was like, no, I'll change it to this instead. The things he changed it to made me realize that when you're working with other people and you're able to get help from other people, I think either Nikki or Olivia said it, being teachable, where they can see the things you're doing and you can allow them to sort of impart you or be able to help you and guide you. That can help you move further. Like you can there's only so much you can do by yourself, but there's a lot more you can do with other people's help and insight and learning from experience. Like you don't have to make all the same mistakes again. Yeah. You just have to take from other people's guidance and stuff. This was something I had to learn to do at work and put into practice, because there are times when I'll be doing things and I'll be like going through pain and making things really hard. And it's just like one question. I remember when I did this is come back now. So my first job, I remember it's come back. The feedback I got, I think after the first placement, because we do 6 months placements in the role when we start, they said, "Oh, Gideon is good. He's very good at this job, very quiet, but he doesn't ask for help as quickly as possible. He doesn't ask for help soon enough. So like I would have tried, but I would have wasted too much time. Like it's okay to do things by yourself, but there's a thin line between too long by yourself and then wasting time. And that's the thing. So I had to learn to ask for help quicker than I would normally do. So like going forward, even in my unconsciously then came to me. So I didn't even it didn't really become I didn't have to tell myself. It just became a habit where I would ask for help quicker than I would normally before. And I found that my productivity went up, because I didn't have to do all the time just not understanding things because I was just starting out, especially if you're a new worker at a company. I think that's important. Obviously, as you get experience, you'll be better at it. So you asking for help will reduce. But when you just started out, there are things you don't know, like where does this go, where does that go, and you're trying to I know everything, so I can, which I tried to do. I can tell you that, but it didn't work out so well. So yeah, that was the feedback I got, and that stayed with me.
That's true. I've heard that a lot. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to learn from other people's mistakes, because a lot of people view asking questions as kind of a weakness, that you're not capable, but people are there so you can ask questions. And if anything, it just speeds up, it saves time. You learn better, you learn quicker, and it's just efficient, So yeah.
And I had also one more thing to just what you said.
Oh yeah.
Is so there's a way to ask questions, and this also I learned is that when you're going to ask a question for help, tell them what you've done before, or tell them what you've done already. So they don't give you a question and you just go, oh, I don't know how to do it. You go, oh, this was the thing. This is what I tried to do, but it didn't seem to work out as well. Can you tell me what the problem is? And then they can pinpoint out. So you don't just ask for help without having tried to do anything. I think that's the worst. That's the part you were trying to avoid. You want to be able to ask for help based on what you've done or what you've tried already.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you. And another question. So another question to John. How do you deal with lack of motivation? This is from Oyinka.
How do I deal with lack of motivation? Okay. For me, I try not to get to the position where I have lack of motivation without already having a system in place. The reason why is because lack of motivation is inevitable. I don't know about other people, but there have been long periods of times in my life where I have not had motivation. So for example, in my dissertation, my final year master's dissertation, I had no motivation whatsoever for the last 2 months. None. In all honesty. And the only thing that kept me going was the fact that I had a system in place. I had a work schedule in place already. So what that meant was that for me, I know 9 a.m. you start writing, 10 p.m. you finish with everything. Don't even try and go any further than 10 p.m. Do you get what I mean? So for me, it was just working at it really. But if you have lack of motivation, there's other things you can do as well, because I have done this. Maybe watch a video to see where you're trying to get to. Let's say you want to get to a certain place in your career. Watch a video about what people do in that position in their career, so it kind of motivates you to see where you're going further. Look at what you wrote at the beginning of the year or what you want to achieve. Set goals. Like when you have all these things that you can set, you can go back to remind yourself of, this is why I'm doing this. It can rile up your motivation. It might be only for 2 hours, 3 hours, but at least you get to do what you need to do at that point in time. And also, if you're lacking motivation, it may be because you're too tired. Maybe you've not had enough time to play. For example, some of us, we are workaholics. I used to think of myself as someone who plays a lot, but then I realized that actually I work a lot as well. Do you get what I mean? So it's important for you to just have time to relax. If you have no motivation, say, okay, cool. Tomorrow, I'm going to relax. I'm going to play, I'm going to call a friend, I'm going to see what I can do. And after that, I'm back at it. Do you know what I mean? So just be realistic with yourself. Like, in all honesty, be realistic with yourself and set goals. And that really helps if you have lack of motivation.
Yeah, and just sorry to add to that, because I get this a lot from students a lot of the time, and we all, of course, there'll be times where you're just not, like John said, you're just not really on it. You're just like, oh, I can't be bothered. Everyone's human at the end of the day, whether it's to pick up the textbook and revise, or whether it's to complete an assignment that you have at work, or whatever it may be. But I always tell my students, and this is what John basically said in regards to having that discipline. And I think that's what we really need to work at. Is understanding that motivation is what kind of gets you going. It's like, okay, I want to get these A-level grades. I want to go to this university. But you have to have discipline, because that's what will see you through. There's just no point in saying that this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, but not doing anything about it. You have to have that discipline in place. So if it means that, okay, I'm on my phone too much, or I'm watching this, a lot of the time, take active steps to make sure and ensure that you're not. So I have a couple of students that just can't get off YouTube or can't get off their phones. And I say, okay, so who do you live with? I live with my mum. Okay, so tell your mum, and tell her that between this time and this time, she shouldn't give you your phone back or give you your laptop back in order for you to watch YouTube, because you should be doing your work. Okay, so get someone to be accountable. And that's where discipline comes in, because we can all be motivated to reach goals. And that's why some people reach goals and others don't. It's not that we don't have the ability to, but it's because they just showed more discipline.
Thank you, Nikki. So discipline and also accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Really useful. Okay, so we have a question from Ola. What advice, this is a really good, really pertinent question. What advice would you give to a Black student / a Black person going into the workplace in order to not feel like a fish out of water? Because there are a lot of areas in England that are primarily Black people, but of course the Black population in the whole country is like less than 5%. So when you go into workspaces, like John and Gideon and Liv said, you'll be surrounded by probably no Black people. So what advice would you give to students so they can adapt in that environment?
I'd probably say it's a really, really good question, I'm not gonna lie. Like, learn about them and let them have a chance to learn about you. Like, I feel like this is going to sound really weird, and this example I'm using is it's not even like to do with the working world. I feel like I was with you, John, actually. I went to the fish and chip shop, and it's like, obviously, sorry, I know it's really random, but obviously the guy behind the counter is white and I am black. And I know that I was quite irregular because I like fish and chips. But like, you know, it's that thing of like learning about them or having communication with other like white people outside of the workplace environment. But I'm definitely saying like in the workplace, just learn about them. Like they're gonna ask you questions, to ask them questions. Like, and don't, obviously you're gonna feel like that all the time because everywhere I go, I definitely feel like that. But I think it's not seeing, as hard as it is, because obviously we do see race, but seeing the person for who they are. And like I said as well before, like having one-on-ones with them and or with people, so then you can get to know them on a personal level individually, so then it helps when you're in the workplace. That's my piece of advice.
Thank you, Nikki. Gideon, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, because this is something I think I worked regularly experience. Like my first job, I spent a time in Scotland for like 6 months as well. And so it was a big facility. I think it was like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30,000 people. I was the only black person, I think, in the office when I was there. So, but for me, this is, I think is probably my nature. I'm not sensitive to who I am in terms of like the color of my skin that way. So when I go somewhere, I'm never uncomfortable if they're not of my color, if that makes sense. So when I was in Scotland, I would play football with the guys on Fridays. I would chat with them, but I didn't do anything I wasn't uncomfortable. So they wouldn't force me. They would ask me to come nights out. I don't do nights out. I don't go to the nights out. When we go football, I go football with them. Like I just lived my life based on how I was with the team and with the people there. My conversations were based on who I was. Like I wasn't trying to pretend to be something I wasn't. Whenever I go to places, like I'll still take my rice and stew to lunch, very spicy every day. They saw me bring it in, but like there was not that, like I didn't change my style for them, like I wasn't changing anything. I was just working with people. That was how I saw it. And even in my current company, even though it's smaller, I'm still the only black person there. And the same, like I had to host a Zoom game thing for the team company just yesterday evening. And for me, it was just as casual as anything. It was all, people not black. And it was still, I don't have any kind of thing where I start to be sensitive to who I am based on my color. I'm not even going to say country, or I'm not going to say color because that's what's more relevant here. So like, I don't feel any sensitivity towards that when I'm in the presence of anyone. Because once you start to feel that way, the only thing I think would happen is that you start to put pressure on yourself to behave a certain way, to appear a certain way, to fulfill a certain thing, which you might then make yourself more stereotypical. If you just be, because first of all, not all black people are the same in a way. So like, I have black friends who are different. They have like I know after I left my old company, another black guy went there, and he's a very different nature to how I am, because we're not the same thing. So I didn't try to behave like anything. I just behaved as myself, and I was not sensitive to that. I didn't try to join anything I wasn't happy to join. I only did things I was comfortable with. So I think if you're going to any place where you're a black person and you're the only one, for example, or you're very few, just be yourself. And it sounds very cliche, but when I say be yourself, don't try to do things you're not comfortable doing. Don't, because you're joining a different place, try and do things so you can appease them and let them know what your character is. Like, how would they know what your character is? The things you don't like and the things you like. They just think you're a yes person to everything because you don't want to be the typical, I don't know, something. Don't be afraid for that. Just be yourself, be comfortable. Try not to think you're different. You're just a person like everybody else. You're there to do a job. You're there to make friends. Your colleagues turn out to be your friends as well. So you make friends. You meet people that are like-minded as you are. You meet people you might not be as close friends with, but you be good colleagues with. So don't put a burden on your shoulder going into this place. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, don't go there with a cross or with a chip on your shoulder. Go there with a free spirit or with a free mind. Don't go there thinking, oh, I'm the only person. I never go into work and think I'm the black person. I just go into work and sit down, talk to the people, chat with them. I'm like, Rob, how you doing? The weather, hey man, it's just raining all the time. Like, that's just it. Like, literally, it's just raining all the time. Coffee, yes, I needed to pep me up this morning. Like, that's just it. Like, I don't see anything else to hinder me from being able to work properly or communicate.
Yeah, it's true. Because realistically, the higher jobs in this country in life are dominated by white people. So you shouldn't feel intimidated from progressing simply because of who's around you, because that only like limits us from getting to where we could be. So like you said, just be yourself, do what you came to do, and don't be so focused on, I'm the only one. Because I feel like that plagues a lot of Black people, especially in England. So yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have any more advice regarding being the only Black person in a workspace?
I would definitely say, similar to what Liv and Olivia and Gideon have said, but I would say definitely make an effort to, I think Liv already said this as well, to be honest, definitely make an effort to understand people's culture.
Yeah.
Make an effort to share your culture. I think sometimes we don't, honestly, feeling like a fish out of water, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're making it seem as though you owe someone something to be like them in a way. Like, you don't owe anyone anything. So long as you're a polite person, you're behaving correctly, be yourself. Like for me, I would say it's not even the fact that I'm Black that makes me feel any sort of way at work. It's the fact that I'm a serious Christian and people want to do certain things that I can't do. You know, I can't share, I don't drink alcohol, I don't go to the club. Do you get what I mean? And that's things that people do to get to know each other. So I have to look at other avenues like football, for example, or other avenues, which one thing I've found is that ask people about their lives. Are you okay? How was your weekend? Is everything good? Do you get what I mean? Like, oh, if someone actually looks a bit tired, they look a bit stressed, like say, oh, you're okay, like, do you want to go talk? Just something like that, be caring. And that will remove the barrier of I'm Black, you're white. It's just, we're human, you know, and let's just communicate. So try to avoid putting too much attention on your race or the differences that are there.
Yeah, because your similarities will far outweigh the differences.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people are just people, ultimately.
Yep.
You have things in common you can talk about. That's really all that matters. So that was actually the final. Oh, thank you, Latifa. That was actually the final question. But before we end this meet, does anyone have any advice? Well, I think someone else asked a question. Could you post the question on the Zoom meet so we can answer it? Does anyone have any advice just in general for people? I think last time I was talking to John, you were talking about not comparing yourself with other people. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So it's a statement that my dad has, put in my head a lot, which is, comparison is a thief of joy. I mean, he adds on saying comparison is a tool of the devil as well. And it's very important to not compare yourself with other people, because there's so many people that I've met in university, they've come to university a bit later. Some came really young, like 16. Everyone's experience is different depending on the advantages or disadvantages you may have experienced in life. The important thing is, like what I was saying before, the important thing in your career, in your work, is just to see how you are progressing. You can use other people's motivation to see, oh, this person's doing really well for themselves. I want to do well for myself as well. That's fine. You can be motivated by that, but don't start thinking, oh, I'm here, they're there, and you stress yourself out. There's no need to do that. You don't need to look at somebody else's bank account because you're going to stress yourself out. Listen, if you think you're rich, there's always someone richer. Do you get what I mean? If you think you're smart, there's someone that's smarter. Do you get what I mean? If you do that, you are going to continue on this spiral of, mental stress. Do you get what I mean? So best thing to do is always look to develop yourself. And obviously, as a Christian, I'll always say that it's about trying to achieve your purpose, which is, obviously I would say to glorify God's name, but it's trying to be the best that you can be with the circumstances that are around you and with the opportunities in which you have. That's it. And by God's grace, you'll move forward.
There's no, because we're all on different lanes, we're all going at different paces. So if you're comparing yourself to this next person who's not even in the same field as you, full stop, it's only going to drain you. But like you said, you should spend your time working to develop yourself and the skills that you do have, instead of comparing yourself to other people's skills.
Yeah, I would say, are we still on this question?
Yeah.
Same. Okay. I'd probably say don't fear failing, or don't be scared to fail, because I don't think we're taught that enough. And I think even, from young and being in school we have the mindset of, being excellent and passing everything, and we want to pass our A levels, and we want to pass our degree, and we want to do very well at work. But when you get into the working world, I would say one thing that I've taken from my career is that failing is actually not trying. It's when you don't take up an opportunity that you have because you're scared, of failure. And I think a lot of the time we do that. We're like, oh, what if I fail, or what if I don't do very well? But at the end of the day, you're going to learn from that mistake that you've made, and it's going to teach you a lot more than if you didn't try in the first place. So I'll give an example. I had this year that just went, the academic year that just went, my manager came to me and said, oh, I want you to head, because I'm the only Black teacher in the sixth form part of the college. And they said they want me to head something called the Black Caribbean Project, obviously, because they think, okay, I'm the only Black teacher. It's something that would work a lot. So it's about Caribbean students that don't necessarily do very well in their A level. They've looked at statistics and they've seen that Caribbean students don't do very well at A level. And so they want me to come up with this strategy and do all of this to try and make sure that they do well. And I'm like, hold up, this is a lot. Number one, it's a lot of pressure, because what if it doesn't work and whatever I decide to come up with just doesn't work? And they're like, okay, well, you failed, and they're still failing. So I was just like, oh gosh, this is too much pressure. Number two, it's like, sorry, I've got so much work to do. Like, you adding this on top, obviously there were incentives and stuff, but adding it on top of the workload that I already had, I've got to pass my students, through GCSEs and A levels, and then you want me to take on extra students that are Black Caribbean. I was just like, oh gosh. But then, it's something that I have to sit down and think about. Yes, I'm scared. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared that if I come back at the end of the year and they say that nothing's changed, I will be so devastated. But at the same time, it's something that I'm going to learn from. If it does fail, if it doesn't work out, I'll learn from it. So I think taking up opportunities and not being afraid to fail is one thing that I definitely would say is key in a career. And you probably half the time won't end up failing. It's just fear,
It's true. I like that. I feel like there isn't one person. Liv, I see.
Sorry, no, I don't like it. Sorry. I agree with John and Nikki, and my piece of advice that has always stuck with me is like, believe in yourself, because I literally it's so hard as well when you're like a teenager to like really understand what it means to believe in yourself and understand like who you are and stuff, because you're still actually finding yourself. But I like I said, I struggled with education. It doesn't come as naturally to me as it does to my brother. I don't know why. I have to work at it, and he can just read one sentence and it's fine. I'll get an A, I'll get a C. So I definitely say like, believe in yourself and learn how you learn. That's like, that was one thing for me from like GCSE to A level and even to university, is understanding how I learn. Like people have different like methods and techniques, and I didn't actually like know at first like what was the best way for me to learn. I'm a very visual person, and I have to like, if I write and memorize, then that kind of worked for me when it came to my exams and my assignments and stuff. So I just say believe in yourself, learn how you learn, and learn you. Like, that's a big piece of advice just in life. Like learn you, so then you can present yourself when it comes to interviews, career, etc. in a great way. So
that kind of links up to the comparison one. Learn how you learn, because even amongst siblings, like, people learn at different rates. People assimilate things differently. So not comparing yourselves and just appreciating how you work is really important. And also, like Nikki just said, not being afraid to fail, because the things you learn when you do fail are so vital for progress. Like, you learn resilience, you learn, let's say you don't want to public speak because you're scared of it. When you do, even if it's really embarrassing, at least you've learned that skill. And by just not attempting something, there's so much we've lost out on. So thank you, Nikki, for that, and Liv and John. And we have a question here from Junior. How do you maximize productivity? I guess when you're revising or when you're working, how do you make sure that what you do has an impact, instead of just working for like 10 hours and not really getting anything done? Okay, John, this is coming at you.
Is this my question?
Yes.
Okay. For me, I make a tick list. It's in university which I learned to actually do this. I was awful at revision before university. But make a tick list of realistic goals. Make sure that when you're learning something, this is especially for those who are studying, make sure that you have like bullet points of the fundamentals, like that your teachers have told you. And at the end, after every 40 minutes, this is what you're really supposed to do, but it's very hard to do this. It's good to make this practice though. After every 40 minutes, question yourself, what have I just learned? Like, and do I understand what I've just learned? Because when you do that, what happens is a lot of the time that knowledge goes into your long-term memory, not just your short-term, because you've questioned yourself. Also, talk about what you've learned. Annoy people around you. I do this. People don't know I do this. I will talk about what I've learned to people. Although they have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, I'm talking about whatever seismic action calculations I've been doing that's complex, but I will still talk to them about it, because for me, what that does is it creates an understanding of the full thing. It builds more than just what I've read. It now becomes an imaginative thing for me. It now becomes a conversational thing. So even if there's been exams where I've legitimately remembered a conversation, and that's what brought about the information. Do you get what I mean? Back to mind. Do you get what I mean? So to be productive, make sure you're always looking, having a goal, looking to see if you've achieved that goal, short-term and long-term. And at the end of the day, always just spend maybe 20 minutes just to think about what you've studied or what you've done. And then that way you hopefully will be able to be a lot more productive. And what ends up happening is you start to figure out things that you do that waste your time. And then you can take those things out of your studies as well.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you. Especially the conversing thing. I find that, like you, I drag people when I'm revising, so I can just talk to them about what I'm going over.
Drag them.
And wait, Nikki, do you think you could answer this as a teacher? What do you advise your students?
Yeah, so procrastination is kind of what a lot of students struggle with a lot of the time. And so I always say, break tasks down. And I think a lot of the time what I used to struggle with, and I always tell my students, is I would have so much to do, and what would stop me doing it from being productive as I should be is the fact that there was just so much that I didn't know where to begin, and I would just procrastinate, and stall. So I would say break it down into smaller chunks, and make like John said, having a list there that you can see, that's visible, that you know that, okay, once I do this, I'm then going to move on to this, and make smart targets as well. Don't be so overly, optimistic. Obviously try your hardest, but don't try and do so much that you end up doing nothing. So make sure that your targets or things that you want to do for the day is actually feasible, because a lot of the time we'll say, oh yeah, I've got to do, and I always used to do this at university, and it's going to be like, I'm doing a whole chapter today, I'm going to learn the whole chapter, and I'm going to no, okay, you've got to really think about it logically now. Can you do the whole chapter in the day and make sure you know it and you're set to go for that exam? Probably not. Okay, so break it down into chunks, and you'll see that, I've done maybe one topic of the chapter, all right, and you start feeling motivated, you start feeling good about yourself, and okay, maybe I can try another topic in the next, give myself a break as well. So I might take a break and maybe I'll try the next topic. But you break it down into smaller tasks. That for me is what makes it more productive. And I think even now, as in your careers as well, it helps you to break things down into small, because a lot of the time you try and do too much, especially if you've got really great work ethic, you try and just overwork yourself, and that ends up being very problematic. So a lot of the times during tutor time, I make students break down their tasks and start with the small stuff and build upon it, and you end up being more productive.
Thank you. I can definitely resonate with that. When you say task for today, finish the whole book.
Yeah.
And just writing down that as a task puts you off it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Not reading any of it. So yeah, realistic goals, realistic expectations. And that's actually,
oh, sorry. I was going to just add a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, sure, definitely.
From a different perspective. So I was going to relate it to what I do for my work. So like within software, you can write things to achieve certain things, but you can achieve a task in many different ways. Like the same 10 software engineers can write a particular thing to do the same thing, and they would write it in 10 different ways. It's very possible because it's just the way it works. And so one of the things people do is when you start working, you start learning better ways to do these things. So one of the ways you do is you look at other people's work, and you look at the way they've written things and the way they've done things, and you look compared to what you've done, and you see how better it is, and then you incorporate it into yours. Another thing is I did it recently. I bought some books and started reading some things to understand better and see how better I can implement things. So when I write new stuff, I don't write it the same old way. So this is work-wise. So even though I've done it before and it works fine, when I do it again, I can do it in a better way that reflects my development as a software engineer, as someone who now understands things even better. So that way I'm growing each time I'm doing this task. So it's not just like I'm doing it like a robot, just like copy and paste. No. Each time I do it with the intent of like doing it in a better way. So it's not the same way just because I've done it before. So that's one of the things like practically at work for someone like me, I do to reflect or to maximize productivity basically. Oh, you're mute, Oyinda.
You're on mute.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you, Gideon, for that. And that was actually the final question for today. And we're finishing very much on time. And so I just want to say thank you to all the panelists, Gideon, John, Liv, and Nikki. It was really lovely having you guys here today.
It was great. It was
Thank
great.
you.
You've been a fantastic host as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. Amazing.
Well done.
Liv. Thank you to everyone who came to listen in on this talk, both on Zoom and on YouTube. I hope it was really useful to you guys, and yeah, so that is the end, and hopefully we'll see you guys for another talk in the near future. Thank you.